the question is asking you find the first 3 terms and the 10th term of each sequence from the given general term Tn. Now, the question is asking you for the first 3 terms, so you highlight the first 3 terms, and the 10th term. So total there are 4 answers that you have to find from the question. Okay, so for part A, we have Tn equals to 2n plus 1. So ask yourself, what is Tn? And you realize that Tn is actually the general term of the sequence. Next, you will realize that Tn, this green n, is the same as this n on the right hand side of this whole general term. So now, what is the first term? How do you define first term? It will be T1. It's actually your first term. Similarly, your T2 will be your second term. And T3 will be your third term. So now ask yourself, what is the 10th term? And you realize that it will be T10. So now, we are supposed to find T1. And since this green n over here is the same as this green n, all you have to do is just to substitute this 1 over here into the general term. And you have the first term answer as 3. Okay? Now, similarly, to find term 2, you have to substitute these two, n equals to 2, into this general term over here. And 2 times 2, you will have 4 plus 1. And so your second term will be 5. Now, for term 3, it will be the same thing. Two times 3, you have 6 plus 1, and then your term 3, the answer is 7. Now, please do not forget that you have another last term to do, which is your T10. Two times 10 plus 1, and you realize that 2 times 10 is actually 20 plus 1, and your 10th term will be 21. So these are your 4 answers. T1 is equals to 3, T2 equals to 5, T3 is equals to 7, and then the last term that you're supposed to find in the question is T10, which is equals to 21. Okay? Now, move on to the second part, which is part B. We have Tn equals to n squared over 2n plus 1. Similarly, you realize that the n, this Tn, which is the general term of the sequence, this n is the same as these 2 n's on the right-hand side of the general equation. Now, same thing, you're supposed to find the first 3 terms, and we know that the first 3 terms is T1, T2, T3, and you have to find the 10th term, which is T10. So T1 is equals to 1 square over 2 n plus 1. And this time the n is actually 1. Please take note that you have to write the brackets. It will be very important for you to write the brackets so that you will be able to expand the expression properly afterwards. So 1 square is actually 1 times 1. It's not 1 times 2. So 1 times 1 is equals to 1. And the denominator you have 2 plus 1, which is 1 over 3, which is 1/3. Similarly, for the second term, you have 2 squared over 2 times 2 plus 1. Now we realize that 2 squared is actually 2 times 2. So you type into the calculator, you will have 4 as the numerator. In the denominator, you have 4 plus 1. You have 2 times 2 as well. So it's actually 4 over 5. Now, because this is already in the simplest form, you don't have to simplify it any further. So this is your final answer for term 2. Now, for term 3, same thing. You have substitute the value of n equals to 3 into the numerator, and you have 3 squared over 2 times 3 plus 1. Now, 3 squared is 3 times 3, not 3 times 2. Okay? So bear in mind when you press the calculator, it's a square, not a times 2. So 3 times 3 you will have 9 over 2 times 3 you have 6 plus 1. And you will have the third term as 9 over 7. It's already in the simplest form, you don't have to simplify any further. So this is your final answer. Now please do not forget that you have another last term to find, which is your term 10. Same thing, you substitute n equals to 10 onto the right hand side of the general term equation. And you have 10 squared divided by 2 times 10 plus 1. Now 10 times 10, which is 10 squared, you have 100 over 2 times 10 will give you 20 plus 1. So after you have added up your denominator, you will have 100 divided by 21, and you realize that it's already in the simplest form. So this is your final answer for term 10. So overall, your answer for T1 will be 1/3, T2 will be 4 over 5, T3 will be 9 over 7, and T10 will be 100 over 21.